as a coach, as a consultant, I don't have all the answers. And so I'm continually checking in with, does this feel good for you? Does this not feel good for you? Because if it doesn't, then we need to make an adjustment. Because I don't want somebody just taking what I say and doing it because it's the quote unquote, maybe it's like the right thing to do. And aren't we so conditioned to be looking for the right thing? And if I can find the right thing, then I'll implement the right thing and then I'll get all the results that I want. But it doesn't work that way. Overwhelm, reaction mode, and just keeping up are the old way.
You need real, root-level strategies and practical steps to grow your business or ministry without exhaustion and burnout.
Hi there, we're Anna Saucier
And Megan Gephardt,
best friends and business consultants who help faith-filled women create sustainable growth through simple strategy with a people-first approach.
Here at Apostolic Fruit, we hope to offer you clarity, support, accompaniment, and healing,
one tiny step at a time. People have told me many times, Anna, I don't think you realize the kind of unique spaces that you create, the communities, and how people feel when they're in it. I want to talk about this a little bit more today and share with you some of the things that we do in our spaces that create this kind of environment. I'm Anna Saucier, and I want to welcome you back to the Apostolic Fruit podcast. So a couple of weeks ago, Megan and I were chatting about this concept of how is it that our spaces are so unique and that they feel the way that they do, that they feel, we'll call it safe maybe, that people feel like they can be who they are and they can be vulnerable and that they won't be judged and that they can begin to actually trust themselves more, which has not been a lot of their experience in the past. So we decided to ask the members of our garden space and some of our clients to share these back with us. And it was really interesting that what came from that. The reason we asked is because I told Megan, I don't know. I don't know what these things are. I know that I began doing a lot of this intentionally when I had beautiful examples from other leaders in spaces that I was in, creating these safe environments. But a lot of that just started to become intuitive and the way of doing things. And so when you're close to something, you don't realize what all of the specifics are. And so we asked our clients and it was really beautiful to hear what came back in this. And I want to give you some context of why this is so important. Because if we look at this from a leadership perspective, and I do, because I see the difference that it makes in people when you're operating from a top-down leadership position, and whether consciously or subconsciously, you're maximizing the power differential. As in, I, the leader, know what to do. I have the answers. I've experienced this before, so I can help you bypass all of the roadblocks, or I'll give you the step by step, and then you implement it. Versus a leader who believes that the people that they're leading have a lot of wisdom inside of them. And they have God-given purpose and gifts and mission. And as the leader, our goal is to create the space that allows that to emerge. Right? So you see the difference in these ways of leading. And so my value as a leader, my goal as a leader is to create the space for that to emerge, which means practicing being able to see and understand and meet needs, basic needs, and the needs of the human being in front of me, such that their whole being feels safe to allow the deeper stuff to come through. Okay, so that's the purpose around these little things that we do that actually make a big difference. And I want to share some of these practical things with you. First of all, whether we're in a group space or in a one-on-one space, I'm always asking people, how are you feeling? When they're coming into a call, we'll say, how are you feeling coming in? And we name emotions. This helps to invite the person to come into the present moment, to recheck in, because often we're operating on autopilot, And so they come into the call and say, oh, how am I feeling? Let me check in with myself. And so they might name an emotion and they can reset. And that gives a big sigh of relief to be able to come into something new. I also ask people how they're feeling throughout the process. So we're moving through something in coaching, and Megan absolutely does this too. We're doing the strategy bits, and then we take a pause and we ask, how are you feeling? How is this feeling? How is it landing for you? This is really important, and it also helps to build the self-trust in the person. This is one of the ways, too, that reinforces that I don't have all the answers. As a coach, as a consultant, I don't have all the answers. And so I'm continually checking in with, does this feel good for you? Does this not feel good for you? Because if it doesn't, then we need to make an adjustment. Because I don't want somebody just taking what I say and doing it because it's the quote unquote, maybe it's like the right thing to do. And aren't we so conditioned to be looking for the right thing? And if I can find the right thing, then I'll implement the right thing and then I'll get all the results that I want. But it doesn't work that way. And so to reinforce this kind of leadership paradigm of, I don't have all the answers, actually, the person in front of me does. They have so much wisdom because they're the only person that can ever know the whole environment and their entire experience. Whether this is an entrepreneur or whether this is a leader in an organization that I'm coaching. So what I'm constantly doing is asking, how does this feel? How is this landing for you? We're asking more questions to bring out more understanding and more information about whatever we're talking about. I'm not assuming that I know what they need to do next. We're always looking for, how can we ask more questions? Then we also invite a pause. We'll say something like, let's pause for a minute with this. Or let's pause here in a place of discomfort or a place of uncertainty before we jump to making a decision or to moving forward. There's so much urge to go with the momentum, to get going. There's a lot of pressure to do that. But there's so much wisdom in the pause, in feeling into it more. And it's uncomfortable, absolutely. There's power in that discomfort. It gives us space to reflect. It gives us space to ask more questions. Another thing that we constantly do is we make invitations. I won't tell someone, here's what I want you to do. Well, sometimes I'll do that, but not very often. Most of the time I'll say, can I make an invitation? And you can hear that there's two things in there. First, I'm inviting, and I'm also asking permission to invite. That's so empowering for that person. And then another way we can do this is asking if someone needs a different approach. You start going down a road in coaching, or we're working on a certain strategy, and then we pause to check in. How is this feeling for you? Do you need a different approach? We want people to trust themselves. To get guidance, absolutely, because we don't know what we don't know. And there are people have gone before us, and all of that is really extremely valuable to have someone walking with you, to have a sounding board, to have a guide. But you want that guide to be someone who is going to believe in the inner wisdom that you yourself have. Because if you are working toward a calling that God has given you, then only you and God know the fullness of that, yeah? Not the coach and not the consultant. So we want to create a space that nurtures that nurtures the self-trust within the person, within the group, within the space, and that also honors the real human experience. So one of the things that often Megan and I will do is we'll speak into sharing our hard too, as a lot of the growth is a struggle, the internal and the external growth of being a leader, of growing a business or growing an organization, or growing a mission. It's hard. And so we practice our vulnerability too in sharing our hard, being real about the humanity, which once again helps to reduce that power differential, reminds us that we're all doing this together. Yes, I can be a guide for you, and you, in your innate wisdom and your relationship with the Lord as you discern, in your co-creativity there, in your beautiful curiosity, you have so many of these answers. And when people are supported, so our goal is to create the space of support, the space of safety for that human, for you as the leader, for any human to feel like they are being seen and their basic needs are being met, to be heard, to be seen, to be understood. That's when that wisdom can really emerge. And when they can feel that greater freedom, their body and their nervous system can begin to relax, and they can feel more integrated, more aligned in the work that they do.
We hope you loved today's episode. If so, would you take a moment to share it with a friend?
If you haven't already, come connect with us human to human at apostolicfruit.com/connect. When you're ready, we'd love to support you more deeply.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you,
and turn his face toward you and give you peace.